been very proud of Russian people and their achievements. 15 cultures were mixed together. They were influencing each other in art, culture, history, science. I have to be excited who I'm going to interview. I googled 200 rich lists in Australia. She's bringing a crown with her. From child bride, one of a kind, interviewing Aslan Karatsev, Antenna Awards. We would like to thank the Antenna Awards for choosing Russian Influence as the best interview program. I'm Elina Reddy and welcome to Russian Influence. Today's episode is going to be all about Russian influence. I'm going to share with you our journey from when we began through to our greatest achievements so far, winning the Antenna Awards 2021 for the Best TV Interview Program. Interview other people, and let me tell you a little bit about myself. I have come from Ukraine with my family just after I finished high school. I studied at the University of Melbourne. I graduated with a double degree, Bachelor of Arts, majoring in psychology and sociology, and Bachelor of Social Work. I worked as a social worker at the St Kilda Crisis Centre for a few years, where I've met some very interesting individuals. One week I would think, I think I've seen it all. And then the next week would come by and I would think, I've seen nothing at all. And then I worked for Centrelink for a few years until I had my children. After I had my kids, I wanted to do something entirely different. So I got into art, and for more than a decade, I had a studio in St Kilda. I have been painting on a daily basis, and I had exhibitions in Australia, around the world, London, New York, south of France, Eastern Europe, and I painted from landscapes to portraits. I always liked art. Even in the Ukraine, I always liked to draw. Not that I was particularly good at it, but I always had the passion for creating something, and I liked experimenting with different paints and different pastels and pencils. 2 years ago, I took my grandma to an event which was dedicated to World War II veterans. There I met Anna and Grigory from Sputnik TV. They made an announcement to everyone from the Russian community who would help them interview and film the interviews with people of Russian background. It got me thinking. It sounded really interesting, meeting people, and I thought, look, I've conducted hundreds, if not thousands of interviews, but there were so many other skills that I had to learn, from editing to how to work with cameras. And I learned a lot of that from YouTube videos. I have always been very proud of Russian people and their achievements. Being an immigrant is extremely difficult because you leave so much behind and there is so much unknown. But this unknown can also be very exciting, and it can also present a lot of new opportunities. And you might learn something you never knew about yourself. And that's a life of an immigrant. Everyone who arrived here in the 90s, they came with one suitcase and $100 in their pocket. And it made me feel so proud when I learned how much Russian people have achieved, how far they have come. And that's why I want to share their stories. And eventually that's how Russian Influence was born. Before I knew it, I had my own TV show. We started to air on Channel 31 and Channel Aurora Foxtel. On location, we have the Russian heritage, asked what Russian influence is all about. To me, I'm a child of the Soviet Union. I immigrated to Australia just when Soviet Union fell apart. I even traveled on a Soviet passport here. So to me, Russia is all those 15 republics mixed together. This is my personal opinion. I know it has all changed so much. But what was really good about Soviet Union was that all those 15 republics, 15 cultures were mixed together. They were influencing each other in art, culture, history, science, culinary delights. And that's something that I like to show in my program. In a way with Australia and Soviet Union, in terms of that in Australia there are so many different cultures and so many immigrants that are mixed together that are influencing each other. The process of the interview is really important. You really have to plan everything in advance. Obviously, I would research a person I would interview, I would write all the questions, I would memorize them, and bit by bit my team started to grow. Now I have Yulia Alyoshina, who helps me out with filming and Instagram reels. I have photographers who come and help to take photos, which we use for social media. Olga Pokrovskaya. And Olga Payne. And Svetlana Gromov from Hair and Makeup by Svetlana. I have designers, the very talented and sensational Tanya Didenko, who designs absolutely incredible dresses. And I have my very good friend Marina Belinka, who is an extremely talented stylist. I also have a stylist in Sydney, Zitrus, and she has been very helpful to me in Sydney. And Lady Photo Natalie, which is Natalia Grigorieva, she has been my photographer and videographer in Sydney. Without them, I wouldn't be able to achieve the things I have achieved to this date. People ask me, where do you get an idea? Like, how do you get an idea? Who are you going to interview? And because I started doing it for myself, I thought, well, they have to be interesting to me personally. I have to be excited who I'm going to interview. But also, of course, I take into consideration, would this be interesting for other people to watch? Sometimes I use Facebook or Instagram to identify people, but also sometimes Russian community is very small and it's word of mouth. People know other people and they talk about them and I think, oh, that person sounds interesting. But sometimes you identify a person and you cannot contact them because they're very unreachable, and that's where I had to be bold and reach for the stars and had to go and be brave and try to contact that person and talk them into agreeing to be part of my show. When I just started this journey, I Googled 200 rich lists in Australia, and I looked for people of Russian background. And Larry Kesselman and Ruslan Kogan came to mind, and they're not the kind of people that phone numbers are listed and you can just pick up the phone and call them. So I really had to dig deep into my connections and people that I knew. And I was very, very fortunate that they gave me a chance. I still remember interviewing Larry Kesselman in his magnificent office, which felt like it was up in the clouds above Albert Park Lake. Everything he had to say was so fascinating. The energy that he had about him. I'm very grateful to him that he took a chance on me, and he introduced me to Ruslan Kogan. And when I came to the interview, Ruslan was really busy, but he took out the time of his day, and he just felt like such an easy guy to talk to and so down to earth.
Революционер ритейла. Руслан Коган.
Так мы приходим на митинг, и у них шок такой. Они думают, они с какой-то такой большой компанией делают. А здесь два ребенка приходят на митинг. Я и Гором брали нашего папы костюмы, одевали и шли на митинг. Много из них надо мной смеялись, потому что говорили, что никто никогда в жизни не будет покупать такие продукты на интернете. Надо брать большой риск, надо очень сильно работать. И никто не знает, бенефит будет или не будет, но надо пахать и работать, и работать.
Other times I look for people who are not Russian, but who have Russian connection. One of the interviews that comes to mind was interviewing Tim Cope. He is the National Geographic Australian Adventurer of the Year.
The more people told us that it was too dangerous to travel in Russia, the more we wanted to. It did prove to be harder and more interesting and rewarding. There's so much more to nomadic culture.
You faced a lot of challenges.
Minus 52 in the winter, it was 40 degrees in the summer. On the 5th day of the journey, my horses were stolen. But that night, I got the fire going, I tried to stay up all night, and I was suddenly terrified. From Moscow, there's a fax that came through.
Yep.
And you have this feeling that suddenly there is no boundary.
Miss Multiverse. Well, that was a whole production. We were filming all day, but I'll give you a little background. Valeria Sizova is, if not the, but one of the most beautiful women in the world, was coming to Melbourne, was flying in to be interviewed by Russian influence exclusively. I thought, oh my goodness, where can we interview such a beauty? She's bringing a crown with her. So I reached out to Larry Kesselman, and again, he was so helpful to me. He offered us his building in South Yarra, Capital Grand. It was just so opulent and luxurious. It was just the perfect setting for Valeria, walking through it, wearing her beautiful crown. I had Tatiana Didenko involved, who coordinated outfits for Valeria and myself. It just felt so amazing wearing those beautiful gowns made of the most magnificent silk in the world. I had the photographers, Ksenia Kidyayeva, who came on board to take beautiful pictures and to film the interview. I had Olga Payne, who took sensational photos. She even had to climb up on some desks where boardrooms take place to take photos of Valeria. We were filming all day. We were absolutely exhausted by the end of it.
I didn't really consider myself going into any modeling or beauty pageants at all.
Congratulations on winning Miss Multiverse.
The most good-looking crown I ever had. Definitely a challenging competition. Back in the time was an absolute disaster. I got offered an amazing opportunity.
These news are huge. Another interview that required a lot of effort was flying to Brisbane to interview one and only Angela Clark. And my stylist, Marina Belinka, came with me. We did make it a girls' trip at the same time. Angela Clark's story is one of a kind, from child bride to an independent and successful international photo model, and being a caring grandmother, mother and a wife. Just incredible journey. Angela, thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to Russian Influence.
Insecurity about myself. Terrorists came to our house, and it was kind of dangerous situation for many civilian people living in Chechnya. And the only way to help me was just to kidnap me. They just grabbed me to the car and they closed my mouth and put a shoot speaking for me like a therapy. I believe that if women have a dream or a passion about something, they shouldn't give up only because someone says that you're not good in it, or it's too late for you.
We would like to thank the Antenna Awards for choosing Russian Influence as the best interview program.
Another interview that was one of a kind was interviewing Aslan Karatsev. Well, there is such a long story that and so much effort that went into that interview. Everyone who knows me, they know it's not a secret. I love Australian Open. One of my brothers, Jan Levinsky, he was a professional tennis player, and he played at the Australian Open. So since then I developed this love for tennis. Every year I go to Australian Open, and this year with COVID, it was no different. I thought nothing is going to stop me. I really wanted to interview someone on circuit. But of course, top players, they're not even going to read my messages, so it's extremely hard to reach them. I started looking, I thought the better chance I have finding someone who would agree to an interview was looking at qualifiers. The qualifying matches were taking place in Doha, Qatar. So I had a look at a few names, and Aslan's name came up. And I started researching him. Now, of course, you Google his name, all sorts of things come up because he's famous. But back then, it was a little bit of information here, a little bit of information there in different languages. And it was like a puzzle that I had to put together in order to understand the overall picture about him. I've learned that he jumped significantly in rankings from almost 300 in the world to 111 in just 18 months. And it got me thinking, well, how did that happen? So from my research, I've learned that he had a new coach who was his age, and they connected, and his new coach, Igor Yatsuk, was helping him more with the mental preparation rather than concentrating so much on the physical aspect. I was watching his progress. He won his qualifying matches, and I thought, oh, he must be, by that stage, he was, according to my calculations, already in Australia. So I reached out to him. He didn't get back to me. And then I remembered that I interviewed Jabbar Askerov, 8 times world champion kickboxer. And I saw from Aslan's biography that he was born in Vladikavkaz, which is just around the corner from Kurach, where Jabbar is from. So I reached out to Jabbar and I said, look, can you please help me make this interview happen? And Jabbar, of course, was very, very forthcoming. He arranged for Aslan to call me. And while Aslan was going through quarantine for 2 weeks, we were constantly chatting on a daily basis about his childhood, about his dreams for the future.
I was born in Russia, in the city of Vladikavkaz. And then when I was 3 years old, my parents moved to Israel.
The Australian Open begins in a few days. What are your thoughts and feelings leading up to the tournament?
And I'm in good shape. I will do my best every match, every game, every set. I have a big team that work together. A couple of years ago, I was like breaking the racket every time. The game just destroyed. I was destroying myself.
What did you have to change?
I think it's more mental part. I was the first one who wants to play every day. So first of all, you have to love what you're doing. You cannot make it alone.
And now Aslan is in top 20 and he has won multiple tournaments around the world, and I'm very, very proud of him. Every year in Australia for community channels, there is Antenna Awards. When people ask me what is Antenna Awards, I say to them, it's like the Oscars in Hollywood, and this is for the community channels in Australia. Russian Influence got a nomination for the best TV interview show in Australia on community channels. I didn't even dream about being nominated in that category, and I never thought that we would even have a close chance to winning it. Antenna Awards presentation was going to be at Federation Square, Deacon's Edge. It was going to be sensational with concerts and presentations and red carpet event and the after party. But COVID, it's all going to be online now. But we're very, very proud that we have won!
And the nominees have raised the bar yet again. Without further ado, the nominees for Best Factual, Current Affairs or Interview Program are... And the winner is Russian Influence.
We would like to thank the Antenna Awards for choosing Russian Influence as the best interview program. We're very humbled and honored. I started Russian Influence interviewing people of Russian background with a connection to Australia. Stories against all odds, stories of triumphs, of success and determination. I would like to thank everyone who have been a part of Russian Influence's journey.
Thank you everyone for watching Russian Influence, and I just want to put it out there to all of you. If you are yourself or you know of anyone who have an amazing story to tell, a story of adversity, high achievements, we are not an advertisement show. We don't like to advertise any businesses. It's all about an amazing story to be told and to be shared by us. Please reach out to us. Thank you once again for watching Russian Influence, and до новых встреч! See you again soon.